I've been free writing every morning for 20 years at least. And generally, I would just use whatever I had around, whether it was a notebook or I'd write on a laptop. And it wasn't until recently, whenever I started using a manual typewriter to do this, that some stuff really started to shift. And, when you're using a typewriter, it's analog and it's a bit slower, and you're using your physical body to really move the keys, and the keys are, hammering ink onto a physical page, and it produces this wonderful sound as you're doing it. So it brought up stuff like from my meditation practice as well, and a lot of stuff kind of clicked into place. So I started sharing excerpts from some of those free writes. There's like this quality of watching what arises without grabbing at it that perceptually is really interesting about the whole like free writing process, or how that flows into any type of writing that you end up doing. So what I want to do today is do like a POV free write, and then I'm going to add a voiceover just kind of describing my inner experience to some extent, and we'll just see how this goes. I started this experience with just an image, or more like just a phrase. I just wanted to hold that phrase and not really let it go anywhere. Kind of stay in that very small scenelet. And rather than like running with it to build it into a scene, can I keep it at the level of language? Can I keep it at like a survey of things that I'm bringing into the space that are just there, and exploring the interface where words become things, and feeling how they may or may not belong. And the atmosphere builds from that. So I started with just the image that happened to be, for whatever reason, it was there with me. Horses in the parking lot. Just kind of had a nice kind of sound to it. And as I was writing, again, like I started without anything in mind. Just a weird image. There's like some lead belly stuff floating around in there. Lyrics, and then kind of drifting from, like I'm moving kind of toward, from these kind of associative spaces, like the musical spaces, and just wanting to like, I'm getting glimpses of spaces and images, and I'm not really wanting to go into anything, and so I'm kind of keeping it at a word level. And it's like a weird game where you can kind of just hold yourself to a certain level rather than go with anything. Just like stay at the level of sound, stay at the level where it doesn't really build on itself. You're just kind of rhyming, not based on sound, but based on something about how the words are feeling. Like it could be cool to listen to music and let that be there in the background and make something that has nothing to do with the music you're listening to, but it just colors the space in some way. Like the lyrics are there with me, and then the sound of him singing and the space that brings for me was there, and it's just in the background. I'm aware of it, and here, for whatever reason, I've gone back. It had a kind of, this whole thing has felt like I've been in a parking lot. And I think this is a Wendy's, took me in a different direction, and I didn't want to build in that direction, so I wanted to go back to where I started that image. Yeah, and here it was starting to move into this feeling of like something intimate, a different space entirely, no longer the parking lot. It was like maybe a more intimate parking lot. But you know, with the lead belly and the parking lot and this kind of weird lid that I was keeping on everything, staying at a language level, there's this kind of yearning that's there, that's kind of simmering. And yeah, it's now starting to build towards the sense of like another presence. Like now there's two characters in this. But it is in a parking lot still, I feel. And so there's like, it's not really going into poetry. Like I'm not really letting it build. I'm keeping it kind of gritty and goofy. I feel like this is just an exercise. It's like working at this. Just be in your internal space where from the beginning nothing was there. And then stuff comes up, but don't shape it too much. Like don't let it shape. Stay at the level of language so that you're feeling these things like it's becoming words, it's becoming words, it's becoming words. And at this point, it kind of typos, it broke down, and I was like, okay, I'll take that breakdown and let's start something fresh. And I just start with the same image again. Like, hey, that's a good place to start. I like where we're going with that. And we weren't going in a different direction. It's just we're building a kind of environment. And here I'm going into like memories, like bits of memories. The crow at the parking lot is like a routine I had with a friend of mine. It was a joke. And so just like touching into these bits of memory, images from memory. But what that's allowing me to do is just, again, be at the level of language. So then it's not me describing the memory, not being accurate to the memory. The memory's there. I'm describing as if I'm on a kind of flow towards something else and letting those words come up and then get moved through. And again, there's like this you from the previous little session that I had. It's like, I don't know who this you is, but there's the feeling of someone. And here I'm letting the words kind of build into phrases because the feeling is it's like more stable. I've built something in the environment where I feel like there's a scene here potentially. And like maybe you can see here, I've kind of gotten swept into a little micro scene. Just like an element that belongs to something bigger. But I'm just letting the feeling kind of dictate what comes. It's more like a more like a poetic way of navigating this. You know, image, association, short words, specific thing. It would seem with this one that I'm deliberately placing myself into a scene, but, you know, I don't have anything planned. And so I just had the glimmer of something and I'm going with it until it becomes something else. And then, like, it definitely became something else. I'm looking for patterns as I go. Like, there's a letter. All right, can I find a rhythm with that? Like in the jazz sense, like you make a mistake, it's not a mistake if you weave it in. So make letters, make words, and you're witnessing them and you're responding to what you create. The thing that's being shaped is a response to what's being shaped. I'm allowing this to track into longer phrases than I did the previous rewrite that I did. But it's because the images feel more stable, or there's something quieter that's more solid in them. And what I did with letters and words, here I'm doing with this character. It's not so much that I'm tracking it forward into a scene and laying the ground and developing it. It goes back, and then it's language, and then the fact that I have this recurring you. I take it in different directions. So it's kind of the portrayal of aspects of character, like a montage. Something's happening here with the rhythm of the typing too. Like I'm just bringing more attention to key, space, key, space. I look at this as like an exploration of lines that could be woven into something else. Like bell jar, their childhood inside. There's a closeness to the subject here, right? Like, and I go back to the original inciting image. This is from the previous one, and I think maybe the one before as well. So like that was the kind of question that I was holding. Again, like just playing with letters, feeling that like the one letter comes and then you look at it and you're forced to reconcile what you put out there. Playing with the pattern of yes, no, like this is a good one for stirring something up into a different direction where it can't go far because you're going to return to that motif and pull it in a different way. This is something I don't do as often as I used to, which is like repeating the phrase. Like just repeat the phrase. Because what I did there was like respond to the fact that I'm repeating the phrase, like what I mean is. But that's kind of folded it in on itself. And then I'm returning back to, other stuff that was kind of in the space from the previous one, like burnt toast and stuff. Like the parking lot scene. Feels like it's kind of fizzling out here, but I'm digging my heels in. Like the attitude that's coming forward is like this. It's like weird character. Kind of like a wrong-headed, like weird dude. And when he's on your side, like that could be really helpful. But in this case, he was kind of just like getting in the way, talking about toasters and stuff. Hopefully that was helpful. It was kind of fun to do this, like running through the experience. And so, yeah, let me know if you have questions or comments or thoughts or what you'd like to see more of in the future. Because that was that experience. And there was like some good stuff came from it. Even though, like, if you just were to look at the page, it doesn't look like anything necessarily. But because I was there in the experience and because the way that I was choosing to write, like I can pull pieces from this and, shape those into poems and like pull them into a few scenes. This is something that I've always found most interesting about the creative process is what happens during the moment of creation. And weirdly, it's not something that I really have seen much of. It's like what's actually happening to you while you're doing the thing. And so I'm just going to use myself as the test subject and we can see where this goes.